Welcome to Beyond the Wall. This is my life story before, during, and after 20 plus years of incarceration. I haven't done the Beyond the Wall series in a while. You know, my purpose here is just trying to keep a documentary of my journey coming home after doing 24 years and trying to get acclimated back into life and the routine of everything that goes on and demands that comes with it. You know, for the last almost over 2 months, 3 months, I've just been having a lot of health issues. You know, my back went out on me, and then when I thought it was healed up, I went and trained at the gym and messed up my back again. And it's just been a reoccurring injury. So I haven't really had a chance to just, I don't know, just not be frustrated and settled in and do the things that I need to do. You know, yesterday was Mother's Day, and I want to wish everybody happy Mother's Day. You know, throughout the years, through the course of my life, we've celebrated Mother's Day, but it was just because it was Mother's Day and because everybody else in America was celebrating it. It wasn't really part of our culture. And we were young. You know, same thing with birthdays and Thanksgiving and Christmas. These things were celebrated because, one, our families, you know, we grew up religious. We grew up in the Mormon church out here in Utah. And these were the things that the community was doing. These were the things that the people in this country do. So we just mimic, you know, the social norm. We didn't really understand everything that goes into it. You know, throughout the course of my life, I probably celebrated 2 birthdays, you know. But it was nothing that I missed because it wasn't really part of our culture. But coming home after all these years, all my siblings, they all have children of their own. They all have sons and daughters and stuff. And now, you know, I've been home since August. Seems like every holiday, every birthday is a big deal, which it should be. And I'm so fortunate that I'm able to participate and be a part of it after all these years. But yesterday was pretty special. You know, it's the first Mother's Day that I've been home for in quite a while. And I first started getting locked up in 94. So from 94 to the time I got out, I've given the system about at least 27 years of my life, not counting the few months I was out in 95 and the 6 months I was out in 98. All total of my life, I've given the system 27 years. I'm 46 years old right now. So that's definitely over 50%, almost 60% of my life that I've wasted away in a cell. So coming back home and being able to be a part of everything, it's almost surreal. You know, I tell my wife sometimes when we're driving, you know, when I pull on the streets and I'm driving down the road and I can see the intersection, you know, a couple hundred yards away, the traffic's coming in front of me. And you know, in Utah, we all live in a valley. We're surrounded by mountains. No matter where you turn, you're always gonna be able to see mountains. And when I look out and I see the mountains in the distance, you know, part of me still find it hard to believe that this is my new reality now. You know, and I pride myself in being above the effects that trauma or prison Many other things that happen in your life affect you. But spending, a quarter century in a box, I have to be able to give myself a little leeway to know that these things took a toll on me. Not just physically as far as like, because I've been in a lot of incidents. I've been stabbed up, I've been jabbed, I've been jumped. I had my share of incidents while I was in the penitentiary. But psychologically, because, through the course of my time, when I do dream about the streets, there's always a limitation. No matter where I'm at in my dream, if I was out here in my dream, when I try to get somewhere, I would always hit a barrier. In one of the dreams I've had, I'm in a car and I'm trying to get from one point A to point B. But as I'm driving, it just seems like it's an episode from Nightmare on Elm Street, where they're trying to leave the neighborhood, but no matter what road they turn, they end up on the same road. But not only that, or the other part that keeps me from ever going so far is like, it would just get dark. For some reason, the sky would turn black and I wouldn't be able to see where I was going, or the fog would set in and I couldn't see the road. And the only way I'm able to see or try to see where I'm going is to open my eyes. But when I open my eyes, I wake up. I wake back up in my cell, looking at my four walls. And in those times, you can't help but contemplate your existence. When you're young, you feel like you're invincible, or maybe you'll live forever, or maybe you don't care to live forever. The lifestyle I was living, the lifestyle that people live that are similar to mine, we die young. We die young, or we rot away in prison. And like I said, when I first came into the system, I was not content, but I accepted that this was my reality. And I tried not to spend too much time contemplating it, because if you're sitting in the jail trying to project yourself 26 years into the future on a day that you might come home, or realizing that you're going to be in here for 20 plus years, seeing that state of mind is going to drive you insane. So for me, my daily routine while I was in the penitentiary was just to survive. From 6 o'clock to 10 o'clock count. It was 10 o'clock when I first came into the system, but now they lock you down at 8:30, 9 o'clock. But that was my goal every day. I'm up at 5 o'clock, 5:30, before the doors crack. I've never taken a nap in all my 20 years while I was in the penitentiary, even while I'm in the SHU or in the SMOOTH program. My routine stayed consistent. From 6 to 9:30, 10 o'clock, I'm up. Whether I'm in my cell or I'm moving around the yard. And I condition my body that way. And I've always tried to find ways to keep myself busy so that I don't let my circumstance fester in my mind. I've seen a lot of people come into the system. There was this guy named Blue. He was from a biker gang out here called the Sundowners. He was already older, maybe in his mid-40s when he got indicted. Me and him caught the bus together to Lompoc. And I think he ended up with a lot of time, over 40 years. I don't know exactly how much time he had. They had a biker gang out here, and they got hit with, manufacturing methamphetamine, distributing methamphetamine, and a whole slew of other stuff. They indicted the whole organization. How they got caught up in the case was one of their members introduced him to a confidential informant, and that confidential informant was able to get into their organization and collect info and data on them, so on, to get them the indictment. Blue, he was an older cat, so he was a white dude, long-haired biker. But us being from Utah, we always have like a homeboy mentality, a sense of camaraderie, because we're from the same area, we're from the same place. We might even know the same people, been on the same streets. And compared to other states, people in the penitentiary, in the feds, coming out of Utah, there's not a whole lot of us. So we bond through being the fact that we're all from the 801. And I got to know Blue in the county jail, going to court, then taking a bus, taking a flight down to Lompoc, and fishing into the USP Lompoc in 2001 together. But 6 months later, he ended up hanging himself. For me, at the time, when the incident happened, I didn't understand it. Because for me, it felt like you let the system win. You let these bitch motherfuckers, the system, break you down. But until you walk in somebody's shoes, you can't really judge, and you can't really know what really goes on in their head. From his perspective, because leading up to his suicide, we had conversations. And he wasn't telling me that he was going to kill himself or anything of that nature. But reading between the lines through our conversation, he was adamant about cheating the system out of the time. He was like, man, they're not going to get this time from me. But, when he says something like that, I'm thinking, oh, maybe he's got some, ace up his sleeve for his appeal, and that he really plans on winning his case and getting back to court. Because when I first fished into the system, I had the same hope. Because I knew that the circumstances that transpired through the course of my case, some of it was bullshit. And, any judge, anybody with any decency to abide by the law and rule of law, I would have gotten my case overturned. But, fast forward 24 years later, when I'm in Florence, my case was still in court. My lawyer was asking me if I wanted to take it to the Supreme Court, appeal it and get a COA, certificate of appealability. Now, getting a COA is hard, because not too many people are able to get into the Supreme Court. Unless you're a political figure, unless the issue has with something like social justice, as far as abortion or racism or LGBT issues, the Supreme Court is not going to really hear your shit. Because you got one Supreme Court and you have 50 states and how many courts and how many people in the system that's filing their appeal. So they go through every case and determine if they're going to grant you a COA. And granting you a COA is just allowing you to file the brief. It's not saying that they're going to hear your case or rule on it or any of that. It's just allowing you a chance to type your shit up and submit it. I filed for 2 COAs during the course of my time, and both times I got denied. So come 2020, 2021, I'm still fighting my case. I'm still fighting the issue of me being a career offender, which I haven't been since 2002. All the case laws that came down since I got sentenced in August of 2000, in 2001, or June, August 2001, has been in my favor. But my judge refused to hear it. The courts refused to acknowledge it. And the excuse that they kept giving me for not allowing me into court was time bar. If you ask me what time bar means, I really couldn't give you a definition. They're just saying the motion that I filed was was untimely, or it wasn't the right avenue to pursue this issue. But they never tell me when it's the right time or what avenue is correct. Time bar is just a broad brush excuse for these judges not to hear your case and put it off. And then now you have to find another avenue to get back into court, whether it's a 2255, whether it's a 2255 second and successive, or 2241. They give you all these options that you can use to file your appeal. But in my personal experience, none of them was ever able to allow me to get before the judge. So, but when you just first go into the system, you always hold on to hope. You don't ever want to give up, because how can you even fathom that you're going to be in here for 2+ decades? And for others that are not as fortunate as me, that had 100 years, multiple life sentence, like, how do you even process that in your mind? So when it came back that Blue had hung himself, I was disappointed at the time. But then, like I said, fast forward to 2 decades later, and reflecting on that incident and the couple conversations that him and I had, I don't blame him. He was already 45 years old, close to being 50 years old, had over 40+ years. He probably had a lot more time, but I'm just saying 40 years just to emphasize that he wasn't going to make it to see daylight. Us out here living in a healthy life, we average between 68 and 73 years old, depending on if you're male or female. Women, they live a little bit longer than us. But in a penitentiary, you got to expect that your lifespan is a lot shorter. So if you're 45 years old and having to do a 40-year bid, what kind of hope do you have to be able to live to being 85? And if you do make it to 85, what kind of condition are you going to be in, considering all the food that they give you in there is all prone to give you cancer? But I'm fortunate that I made it back, and I'm grateful that I had the support system that allowed me to make it home. And yesterday, Sunday, I was able to celebrate Mother's Day. Through the course of my time, every year, I've tried to make an effort to draw my mom a Mother's Day card. But like I said, celebrating Mother's Day wasn't really part of our culture. That's an American thing. And of course, we adopted it. In every essence of the word and descriptions, we are Americans. We've been here since '84. So almost 40 years, 39 years we've been here in America. All my nieces and nephew, they're as American as apple pie. Yesterday I had one of my nephew try some of this food that we call pahok. He's from, my sister married Rob, which is white, and they had siblings. They had kids. He had kids prior to her marriage. But, it was just a contrast of the different cultures that we have. You know, whether you're African American, Puerto Rican, Mexican, whatever. You know, all of our culture is different. We have certain things that we celebrate, but also at the same time, being here in America, we adopt things that are American. And, you know, yesterday was the first time in my life that I ever bought my mom a Mother's Day present. I remember a couple other times when I was younger that I had gotten her some flowers or something. But like I said, Mother's Day, 4th of July, Christmas, Thanksgiving, all the other holidays, it was just another day. It was just an excuse for us to make food and enjoy each other's company. But it wasn't really a celebration because back then we didn't really fully understand what these holidays meant, what their importance were. But yesterday I had an opportunity to spend Mother's Day with my mom in over 2.5 decades. And I don't even remember having so much fun with my parents. You know, we had karaoke, you know, my dad sung, I tried to sing with some of my siblings, and I even danced with my mom while my dad was singing a Cambodian song. And yeah, it was pretty special. You know, my mother, she's not my biological mother. You know, my biological mother passed away when I was 4, when we was in one of the slave camps in Cambodia. And my dad remarried my current mom now. You know, and through the course of my time, I've never been able, because of the way our culture is structured, we're not vocal or affectionate with each other. Yes, of course we love each other. You know, parents, siblings, whatever. But it's almost like it's understood or it's expected that we love each other. We never really express our feelings and emotions. Listen, I grew up my whole life. I've never, until I was 18, after I got locked up, I've never uttered the words, I love you to my parents. Or I've never greeted them, hey, good morning, how are you? Or good night before I go to sleep. But when my little brother John was born, he was born in California. And then when he was growing up, you know, every night he would run up in my parents' room and give her a hug and tell her good night and this and that. And I would just watch from a distance, almost envious, because I didn't know how to bring myself to do those things. Because I haven't been, not conditioned, but brought up to express myself and be affectionate in those ways. So yesterday, like I said, it was pretty special. I was able to give my mom a gift, hug her, let her know that I love her. And, you know, even if she doesn't know it now, maybe, you know, through here, I'm able to, it's easier for me to speak my thoughts through these programs because, well, I'm not really speaking to anybody in front of me. I'm just staring at an iPad, you know, a little square on the iPad. And so it's a little easier for me to just say some of the things that I do say on here. And one of the things that I'm sure she knows, but she's never heard from me, is my gratitude for all the years that she's been here. For her loving me, treating me as her own child. Because, you know, I've heard stories, you know, growing up, people being stepkids to their step parents or whatever, and the way they were treated or whatever, you know, like you have a saying, oh, you're being treated like a stepchild. You know, when I hear that, I could never understand those things because my experience, my mom loved me unconditionally. And in return, I loved her. I never once contemplated that she wasn't my real mom, because she's my real mom in every aspect and every definition of the word. So when other people have bad experience with their step parents or adopted family and stuff, I couldn't relate because I couldn't understand why a stepfather, a stepmother can't love this child that they agreed to accept into their relationship and treat them accordingly. You know, so that's why, you know, sometimes I'm baffled at the course that my life took, because I've been given every reason to succeed, and yet I chose not to. But now I'm fortunate that I have the opportunity to maybe take a different course, maybe do something better with my life. But I'm only able to do these things because of the support system that I have around me. You know, first and foremost, my wife that's been here for me. You know, words can't express the gratitude and my admiration for her strength and her courage for all these years. But in extension, you know, my family, especially my mom. You know, through the course of my time, out of everybody in my family, she would be the only one that I would really talk to on a consistent basis. And consistent basis is like maybe once or twice a month. You know, because when I'm in there, I try to leave the streets behind. I had to leave the streets behind, because if I didn't, like I said, I'd drive myself crazy with all the stuff that goes on, because life out here is hard. You know, in there, outside of potential physical harm, you know, and the psychological effect, you really don't have any responsibilities. And you really don't have to deal with a lot of stuff that goes on, not just with you, but with your family members and your friends. But anyway, this episode is taking a little bit of time, but I just wanted to express my gratitude, not just to my mom in general, but to all the mothers out there, to all the young girls, to all the women, to all the grandmas that's been holding down their family, that's been making the sacrifices to make sure their kids get what they need, that their family's taken care of, that they're loved. You know, I appreciate you in behalf of all your children, all your family members, because I know it's not easy to hold your family down, to be the strong woman that you need to be there for your family. So again, happy Mother's Day to all the girls and women and ladies out there. Thank you.